Hello everyone, welcome back to another video where today I just want to talk a little bit about Russell's recent statements in Doctor Who magazine, both with regards to Season 2 and, as kind of an addendum to yesterday's video, his kind of statements on the future of Doctor Who as well. But before we get into that, I just want to say thanks for the support on yesterday's video. I just felt that there was a lot of stuff going around with very little evidence, so I just wanted to present my perspective on it. As I expected, some comments were not convinced, and let me just be straight up with that. I think at this point on the internet we're in a post-truth age where no matter what evidence or facts I present, no matter what proof I present, people have decided what they want to believe is true without considering the context. I had an exchange with someone in the comment section yesterday, and you can find this, who said that Doctor Who didn't make any money and it's going to get cancelled and etc, etc, etc. When I asked them for a source, they said it was a YouTuber who we've actually already talked about on here before, who accused Shooty of doing terrible things with no evidence. And then I responded to them saying Doctor Who is one of the top exporting titles in all of the UK, and they said, keyword, the UK, not globally. And I had to gently point out to them that exporting means it's being sent out of the UK, not that it's being exported to the UK. How would that even make any sense? It's being made in the UK and then exported back to the UK. And then when they said, oh yeah, it's because no one wants it in the UK, I had to be like, you must know you're starting to sound ridiculous, right? But this is the thing. No matter what logic I present to people, some people are going to believe Doctor Who's cancelled, Russell T Davies has been fired, Shooty Gat has been fired, everything's in flames, when I don't think that's the case. And I haven't really seen any evidence to actually suggest that beyond a couple of YouTube videos. And ultimately, who am I going to trust more? You know, actual industry professionals or Jim Bob 456 who's been saying Doctor Who's going to die for the last 8 years? I think I'm probably going to trust the industry professionals personally. But if you don't want to, that's your own prerogative. But with that little rant out the way, subscribe if you're new. That'd be greatly appreciated. We are currently on 25,000 subscribers, trying to get to 30,000 by the end of the year. Any support would be greatly appreciated, but let's get right into it. So these quotes are largely from this latest issue of Doctor Who magazine, which I am quoting via Cultbox here. I'm also going to be sharing some quotes that they don't cover here. But first, let's talk about 2025 Doctor Who. In his regular column in Doctor Who magazine, showrunner Russell T Davies took readers on a written tour of the filming sets at Wolf Studios, Wales. For me, that space to the right will always be the Robo Chamber where Belinda Chandra, played by Virada Sethu, faces astonishing revelations. Over there, the mysterious palace from the finale. There, once the Time Hotel foyer, then transformed into a wartime hospital in the North Zone. And over there, oh, a unique and terrifying shot from this year's episode 5. Davies also said some insights in some of the scenes of the Season 2 teaser trailer. That shot you saw in the middle of the Christmas trailer, that shot of the Doctor flying or falling or tumbling, that's just one shot in the middle of one of the most astonishing sequences. He also said that the cartoon man you saw, his voice is an old friend of the show, Guess Who. Now, we don't actually know who this is. I've seen a lot of people putting their guesses out there. If I had to hazard a guess, and this is just going to be my own personal guess, why not someone like Simon Pegg? He was in the first Russell era, but I don't think he was really used that fantastically. And it'd be really fun to see him return in a little voice cameo. Possibly as well, Michael Sheen. He's been a voice on Doctor Who before, mainly House in The Doctor's Wife. And we know that he is in contact with Russell, so it could be Michael Sheen as the cartoon man, which would be fun. But leave your suggestions as to who could be voicing this character in the comments below. Episode 5, directed by Michaela McPherson and rumoured to be written by Inula Williams, contains a compelling symphonic piece. I've just heard the final 6 minutes of music for this year's episode 5, and I've played it over and over again, maybe 6, 7 or 8 times. I love it so much. Murray Gold has written the most epic symphony, and I can't wait for you to hear it. I love Murray Gold's music. Whatever you think about this era of Doctor Who, I think Murray Gold has absolutely knocked it out the park. I think he's done so many tracks that I really like, Shooty's theme being a prime example of that. But yeah, I really like his music. I really like the approach he's taken this time. It's similar to his old style, but he's infused some more modern kind of bits to it. I really do like it a lot. I just wish we had the bloody soundtrack, Murray. Where is it? But anyway, the show in 2025 is going to be bigger and madder and darker, taking wilder swings than ever, Davies concluded. Davies also shared his hopes for future Doctor Who Season 2 publicity filming coming very soon. And now the TARDIS sits in shadow, like a secret. The studio flare into life briefly, I hope in February, for a few days. I'm writing this in early January, so plans aren't confirmed yet, but we will probably shoot material for publicity. and those 1,000 electronic press kits you have to do, and maybe specially shot trailers. And then he actually goes on to talk a bit about the "Do you want to come with me?" and Series 3 Split trailer that you guys might remember, and saying he'd like to bring those back, but it's too early to say whether he could, which personally, I would love to see those back. I also really love the Series 5 one, which he also mentions with the Doctor and Amy laying on the grass, and then they get absorbed into like that weird orb thing in 3D. Really, really cool. Hope we see some more stuff like that. I think if Disney are depending on this series to do well, in terms of whether they renew the deal or not, I'd just go all out with marketing personally. I'd just be like, do everything you can to make sure everyone knows this thing is on. But on that topic, Russell T Davies does give some clarity with regards to the future. Not a lot, and not much that he hasn't already said, but I guess it's more detailed than we've otherwise seen. He opens up his main segment talking about how quiet it is in the old studios, before going on to talk about how another show called Industry for BBC and HBO is also filmed within Badwell Studios, but Badwell Studios is so big that he hasn't actually seen the cast of it, despite being friends with a few of them, which I think just gives you an indication of how big Badwell Studios actually is, and how perfectly reasonable it is for a studio that big to be working on multiple productions at the same time. Really not that odd, again, so once again, like I said yesterday, I really don't think that's much evidence of anything. But what I found interesting is what he talks about just after he talks about the North Zone and the terrifying shop. He says, "It's been quite a run, hurtling through what's called the First Order. That's not a Star Wars reference, though I love its grandiosity. It simply means the First Order of 3 specials, 2 seasons of Doctor Who, and a 5-episode spin-off. 26 episodes in total. Shooting them felt like forever. It felt like 10 seconds, and then it goes on to talk about the February plans for promotion, as I said, which makes me think that I'm assuming now, if like production on specially shot trailers and stuff is happening in February, I'm gonna guess like an April release for season 2. That seems like a pretty safe bet, given that we know it's slightly earlier than last year, given that Russell said that it's coming sooner than you think. I think April would make some sense. I just really hope they ditch the midnight thing, personally. That's one of the things I'm hoping for. And then he says all the stuff that we've already read, but then he says, this suspense is actually Doctor Who being alive in 2025. And the important thing is, here comes season 2, a whole new season with monsters and friends, old faces and legacy and lore and myth and pantheons and beasts, and quarries and spaceships and cameos and robots and rebels and shocks, and songs and lasers and Mrs. Flood. I did that all in one take, so I would like a round of applause. I am confident Doctor Who is forever, and the future is bright. So I really wanted to highlight that final section there. I am confident Doctor Who is forever, and the future is bright. Now obviously you could say, well, he's not going to say it's cancelled in Doctor Who magazine before season 2 goes out, and I agree, but the fact that they frame it as the studios are waiting for the next series kind of indicates to me that, like, yeah, what he said was accurate, and they're literally just waiting on a decision from Disney. Originally, I thought that maybe by now him and some higher-ups might know something that we don't, but it seems like they're as clueless as we are. So at this point, it is just a waiting game to see what Disney say, which would make sense because, as I said before in yesterday's video, I'm hearing some things from some people saying it's happening, I'm hearing some people say it's not, and if a decision hasn't been made yet, it makes sense that those stories aren't consistent, because not even most of the crew on Doctor Who know. I hope they do make a decision soon though, because I wouldn't want this to become, like, let's say Disney do renew the deal. I don't want this to become like a recurring issue, where like every 2 series or so, we're waiting on Disney to say yes or no with regards to future stuff. But if a decision truly hasn't been made at this point, we are just going to have to wait and see. And I get that that's not the easiest thing to do, trust me. Trust me, I built my YouTube channel off of leaks and things happening early and rumours and all that stuff. But I think this is one of those cases where we are just going to have to wait and see what happens. If Disney don't pick it up, then we'll go from there. If it does, then we'll go from there. But I don't think there's much more point talking about the hypotheticals until we actually know something concrete, in my opinion. So I'm not going to anymore, but I wanted to cover this just kind of as an addendum to yesterday's video. There's some other stuff in this magazine that I'd like to cover, but it largely pertains to The Fugitive Doctor. So what I'm going to do is, before I cover that, I'm going to listen to the Fugitive Doctor audio that's just released, and then I'm going to do a video on that tomorrow that's going to encompass all of that stuff and the lore, because there's some interesting stuff that I want to say surrounding that, but I want to listen to the audio first. But I do want to say, Russell does have a brief section on all the new writers that were already announced, but he does say, "It's an honour and a relief to announce these names at last," Russell tells DDBM. "It's been a long time coming. I just went back through my emails to discover I first asked Juno Dawson about this in February 2022. We had years of fun, and now we get to share the surprises with everyone." So, for all the people who said that, like, Russell wasn't working with new people, Juno Dawson was contacted back in 2022. He doesn't mention when the others were contacted, or at least not as far as I've read, but that's an indication that he's not some guardian trying to lock away new talent. He is more than willing to bring them in. It just takes a while for them to actually be available to write these episodes, which I think, fair enough. They also do have a brief section on the viewing figures, but they don't say anything new yet, as the 28-day figures for Joy to the World have not yet been released, but when they are, we will be sure to discuss them. But that about just wraps up this video. If you did enjoy it, please give it a like, comment down below your thoughts, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you later.